What is up, guys? This is Orca Flop, and today I'm coming at you with another IMSA video. And today we're going to be reviewing the 2019 Mid-Ohio or Acura Sports Car Challenge at Mid-Ohio that just took place today on Sunday. Wow, I have a lot to say about this race, just like I did Long Beach, because IMSA continues to prove to be one of the most entertaining motorsports this year. So, without a doubt, let's get straight into it. So, for the DPI class, it was Oliver Jarvis that set the number 77 Mazda team Yost Mazda prototype on pole alongside the number 6, I believe. Yeah, the number 6 of Dane Cameron in the Acura Team Penske. GTLM, you had the pole sitter Sebastian Bourdais in the number 66 Ford GT, and then the 912 Porsche of Lawrence Vanthor. And then the front row for LMP2, no one really cares about. I'm not even really going to talk about LMP2 other than the number 52 of Matt McMurray won the class because it's a dead class. And then GTD, I believe it was Jack Hawksworth and Trent Hinman in the Acura, and we'll get onto those two a little bit later, by the way. Those two led the front row for GTD. So the race got going, and Oliver Jarvis ended up jumping to the lead on the initial start, and it was a very chaotic first lap as Ryan Hunter-Reay, who was filling in for Harry Tincknell since he was at Spa this weekend for the WEC race. Ryan Hunter-Reay ended up colliding with Helio Castroneves and nearly spun out completely in the carousel, as well as Ringer van der Zand in the number 10 Kanaka Minolta Cadillac for Wayne Taylor Racing. Those two nearly spun. There was damage all over the track. Castroneves ended up losing some, I believe he got a lot of damage on the number 7 car for Acura Team Penske. That kind of set them back for a little bit. And the number 10 was not fast all day after he nearly spun out. Ryan Hunter-Reay nearly spun out. Then there was a big collision with the GTD class and the LMP2 class as the number 38 LMP2 got slammed hard and hit the wall by the GT3 BMW. As those two crashed, I believe the BMW ended up getting out of the race, but the LMP2 stayed in the race. And that was a pretty scary wreck, but there was no caution for it. We continued to go, and then we later found out that Patrick Pilet was the leader in GTLM. We were kind of wondering because he was starting dead last right next to Jan Magnussen in the number 3 Corvette. So Patrick Pilet, it turned out, jumped the restart in the GTLM class, ended up taking the lead. So he had to go onto pit road and serve a penalty for the first part of the race because he jumped the start. It was clear cut and obvious too he did because he just literally got on the throttle almost a minute before everyone else. So it was clear that Patrick Pilet jumped the start. So good call by race control on that to assess Patrick Pilet that penalty. As the race continued, there was a pretty hard-fought battle between Lawrence Vanthor and Sebastian Bourdais in the GTLM class as Tommy Milner ended up taking the lead after getting a fantastic initial start that in the number 4 Corvette. Then Lawrence Vanthor began to track down Sebastian Bourdais, and he ended up passing Sebastian Bourdais for second. And then in GTLM, we had a pretty good battle for the lead between Tommy Milner and Lawrence Vanthor, the Porsche versus Corvette rivalry, but Tommy Milner ended up prevailing as Lawrence Vanthor used up his tires a little more. And then in DPI, Oliver Jarvis got passed by Dane Cameron in the number 6 Acura Team Penske car for the lead in DPI. So that was pretty interesting. And then Dane Cameron began to pull away to about 6 seconds over this course of the race on Oliver Jarvis. So that was quite interesting, to say the least. GTLM didn't seem too much different. Tommy Milner was able to hold on to the lead for a while here, and Lawrence Vanthor kind of sat in second. GTD, we had a little hard-fought battle between Trent Hinman and Jack Hawksworth, as Hawksworth ended up losing the lead to Trent Hinman in the number 86 Meyer Shank Racing Acura. And that Acura NSX probably has the best fuel mileage of any of the cars in GTD. I believe it's a hybrid as well. I'm not sure on that. I believe it's a hybrid V6. But that it has the best fuel mileage of any of the cars in GTD. And once Trent Hinman got to the lead, he pulled away to about 14 seconds. And it was kind of a dominant performance by that number 86 Acura until later in the race, which we'll get onto. But the Lexuses seemed to show their Mid-Ohio speed continually as Townsend Bell was driving the number 12 Lexus up in the top 5. The big story in GTD came up, however, when the brand new McLaren 720S that was being driven by Matt Plum ended up colliding with the number 8 Audi R8 and ended up spinning out in turn number 2. And that nearly caused a pretty massive wreck. Both the McLaren 720S ended up getting out of it, luckily. And after that spin, we saw as those DPIs and GTLM cars were catching that GTD traffic, Jesse Cronin, the number 24 BMW, nearly got spun out, as well as Patrick Long, I believe, in the number 73 Porsche. And then the number 25 BMW of Tom Bloomsquist nearly got blocked by Simon Trummer in the 84 JDC Miller Cadillac. It was just crazy racing from here on out. And we had our first driver changes in the race, but right around this time, as the GTLM stops began, the number 67 Ford GT of Ryan Briscoe went in, as well as the number 3 Corvette and the number 66 Ford GT. They all did driver changes. The 66 was now being driven by Dirk Muller, 67 with Richard Westbrook, and the number 3 Corvette with Antonio Garcia after Yen Madison did the first stint. And then a heartbreak for me happened as the dominant Corvette that was leading all of the laps, Tommy Milner, ended up having a driveline failure. He had to go behind the wall, and the number 4 Corvette was never in contention after that. It was going slow down the front backstretch after he got passed by Lawrence Vanthoor and had a driveline issue. Fuck! The one-time Corvette Racing legitimately could have won today. The number 4 car has a driveline issue, and he was the dominant car. He was leading every lap, and Tommy Milner blew the driveline because he was pushing the car too. He bumped Vanthoor at one point as well in the uphills, but yeah. So heartbreak for me personally. God damn it. Yeah, so I wasn't happy about that. And then as this happened and the pit stops continued, the number 33 Mercedes AMG of Ben Keating ended up hitting an LMP2 car, and the hood flew up and over the windshield, and he couldn't see anything, so he kind of had to really slowly cruise into pit road. Unfortunately, that Mercedes was done for the day. It was kind of funny, but kind of surprising, because I picked that team to win on the smoke show for today's IMSA race. So that kind of sucked for me, because that was my pick to win for GTD. And he was about in the top 3, I would say, top 5. Fast car, just, oh my god, just those LMP2 cars kind of screw you over sometimes. But he ended up DNFing, so it really sucks for that Mercedes team. I don't remember them going back out on track after that, so that really sucks. And then the pit stops continued to cycle through. We were going for a long green flag run here. I believe that Tristan Nunez was swapped into number 77 Mazda and DPI. He ended up taking the lead from Juan Pablo Montoya for a little bit until Montoya would eventually pass him back for the lead in DPI, and then kind of hold on to that for a while. Since that number 6 Acura Team Penske car was very fast all day long, and just kind of was the dominant car in DPI. And in GTLM, it was Earl Bamber that was leading Antonio Garcia by about 6 seconds, since Garcia ended up pitting earlier. And, for a while it worked, but until Garcia had to pit, that was when Earl Bamber took the lead. The Ford GTs were battling in the back. The BMWs were sneaking their way into the podium spots. Both the number 24 and the 25 looked pretty strong. So that was neat to see that they are not winning without having to have rain on their side. So that was pretty good for BMW. And the Cadillac DPIs seem not to be at their best performance. Like, we know that JDC Miller and Juncos Racing, we knew they weren't going to be fast, but Wayne Taylor Racing and Mustang Sampling weren't fast either. In fact, Barbosa and Albuquerque ended up getting dirt on the front of that number 5 Mustang Sampling Cadillac, and they were pretty slow throughout most of the race. They were kind of battling with that number 7 Team Penske DPI that was kind of trying to pull a weird strategy in order to get up front. Ricky Taylor ended up, I think, going a lap down because of that strategy, so it didn't work for that team either. But the Cadillacs didn't look strong. The only Cadillac that was really strong was that Action Express number 31 of Felipe Nasser and Pippo Durrani. Those two continued to drive the hell out of that car, and towards the end of the race, they were competing for a podium spot with Jonathan Bomarino in the number 55 Mazda, so that was pretty fun to watch. And then, honestly, things began to calm down a lot. GTD, you had Trent Hinman in the lead. LMP2, no one gives a flying fuck. You had Matt McMurray in the number 52 car out front. DPI, Montoya was dominating over Tristan Nunez, but Nunez was still not that far back. GTLM, again, Bamber was dominating in that 912 Porsche. And then Garcia was second in the number 3 Corvette. So, and third was kind of a tussle between the BMW and Nick Tandy actually ended up driving that 911 Porsche back up to a podium contender, and he was battling with Jesse Krohn and Tom Bloomsquist for a while for that third spot. So that was pretty interesting to see. And then everything changed as things were continuing to get calmer and calmer as pit stops went by. Everything was getting calm until... Oh wait, I forgot to mention that the McLaren 720S spun again in the uphill, in the downhill part of the track. Yeah, the McLaren 720S was not that good today. I'll talk more about that maybe at the end. But so the number 54 Core Autosport Nissan DPI of Colin Braun and John Bennett ended up overdriving the corner in turn 3, and they ended up going all the way deep into the sandpit, and they couldn't move, and that brought out our first caution of the race with about 32 minutes left in the race. That let everyone kind of cool their tires off, and they were all bunched up back together. So this is about Tristan Nunez's last chance to get by Juan Pablo Montoya, as that number 6 Acura Team Penske DPI seemed to be untouchable over the course of this race. So that was very crazy. And we restarted the race. Montoya got a fantastic restart over Tristan Nunez. Tristan Nunez couldn't do anything, couldn't catch Montoya. Montoya continued to pull as Ryan Hunter-Reay, I believe, is in the 55 now, and Felipe Nasser were battling each other really hard for that podium spot. So that was really fun to watch. But the main class I want to focus on, GTLM didn't really change either. Earl Bamber got a great jump on Garcia. Garcia was second in number 3 Corvette, and it kind of stayed 1-2 from there on. The 912 Porsche, then the number 3 Corvette. The podium spot was interesting for GTLM, though, because Tom Bloomsquist, who missed the Rolex 24, and Nick Tandy in the 911 Porsche were battling really hard for that podium spot, and Nick Tandy ended up giving in the bump and run in turn 2 to get that podium spot. Bloomsquist tried to come back, but Nick Tandy in that beautiful flat 6 Porsche 911 GT2 RS sped away from Tom Bloomsquist, and he would end up securing his podium spot at that point. But where the action was that GTD class. As on the restart, Jack Hawksworth got the jump on Mario Farnbacker, who ended up was the driver's swap for Trent Hinman. Jack Hawksworth had an incredible restart, took the lead from that number 86 Acura, and took the lead in GTD. And Mario Farnbacker was trying to reel in Jack Hawksworth again. And these last laps were so intense because you had a podium spot battle for DPI between Nasser and Ryan Hunter-Reay. Luckily, Hunter-Reay ended up getting it back. And then Juan Pablo Montoya takes the white flag in Mid-Ohio. And Juan Pablo Montoya ends up executing in the DPI class, getting the overall win. And Acura Team Penske gets their first win of the season. So congrats to Montoya and Dane Cameron and Team Penske. I'm looking at you, Rob. I know you're happy about that. LMP2, Matt McMurray won. Who cares? There are only 2 cars in fucking LMP2. GTLM, it ended up being back-to-back wins for the 912 Porsche of Lawrence Vanthoor and Earl Bambers. They drove a hell of a race, and I believe both the Mazdas got on podium for DPI as well. Yeah, their engine didn't blow. Holy shit. They both got on podium, and for GTLM, it was the 912 Porsche that won. And second, my boy Antonio Garcia and Yan Madison, number 3 Corvette. That's another podium for Corvette Racing. And then the 911 Porsche ended up getting third in GTLM and getting that last podium spot. So 2 Porsches and a Corvette on the podium. I'm fine with that. And then GTD continued to rage on as Jack Hawksworth and Mario Farnbacher raced really clean but really aggressively. they were just beating and banging the whole time. Like, they kept trying to dive it in, and Hawksworth was getting better runs off the corner, but Farnbacker wasn't giving up. He was sliding that thing around the corners and literally almost drifted at one point. And he was sliding it so much, but he was keeping up with Hawksworth. And in those last few corners, he had a run down the backstretch going into turn 3, and he nearly got by Jack Hawksworth, but he blocked him on the outside. He couldn't get a run, and he kept sending it in, nearly bumping him out of the way, and overdrove the final corner, or the second to last corner, and nearly stealing a win from Jack Hawksworth. But Jack Hawksworth, the number 14 Lexus, after that Acura NSX for Meyer Shank Racing, put on a dominating performance in GTD. Aim Vassar Sullivan Lexus steals the win from Acura, and Jack Hawksworth ended up executing it and getting the win for Lexus. So Lexus continues to flex their muscles at Mid-Ohio in a very entertaining finish between those two cars of the Lexus and the Acura. Wow! I was on the edge of my feet. I thought Mario Farnbacker was going to send it in on the last corner. He kind of did, but I thought he was going to hit Jack Hawksworth out of the way and steal and get the win. It was not entertaining nonetheless, since they were so close and they were racing so hard. Wow, another great finish in IMSA. Two races in a row, we have a very entertaining finish. So, yeah, so I just explained and I believe Brian Sellers got the number 48 Lamborghini on the podium spot as well, since the number 9 Porsche Scott Harsgrove ended up overdriving turn 1 and hitting the tire barrier really hard. But IMSA did not call the caution for it, and he ended up getting out, and he was all right. But that was a nasty wreck, and I was surprised IMSA didn't throw the yellow for it. I thought they would, but I'm kind of happy they didn't, because we still got that wonderful GTD finish. So, kind of glad IMSA didn't throw the yellow there. That was nice, because we ended up getting a great finish. So, I wonder what other sport throws the yellow when we don't get a great finish. I'm looking at you, NASCAR. Wow, another great IMSA race. How can you not like IMSA? I get you can hate IndyCar because, oh yeah, IndyCar can be boring at times. But IMSA? Oh my God, it seems like every single week IMSA has a good race. A good race, or at worst, IMSA has a mediocre race. I don't think the only bad IMSA race I've watched so far was the 2018 Rolex 24, and that was about it. Other than that, IMSA has delivered again and again and again with this awesome racing and these great finishes. I don't know, man. IMSA is like, I think IMSA might be becoming my number 1 motorsport. I think it's going to pass up NASCAR and IndyCar, because it seems like week in and week out, I always am entertained watching an IMSA race. Me and my friends, my friend Dade, last roaming, and, you know, my other friends like Racing Wolf and Spidey, we love watching the IMSA races. They're so fun. Rob, Kevin, David Land, we need to get more people to watch this, man. I think IMSA TV ratings will go up, just in the matter of the NASCAR Dover race ended up getting postponed, so people were tuning into the IMSA race rather than watching a 3-hour rain delay for the NASCAR race. So, yeah, cool. NASCAR's TV ratings are going to go down the shitter because it got postponed to Monday at 11 o'clock noon. I probably won't make a NASCAR review because I'm not going to be able to watch the race. So, you may or may not get a NASCAR review. But as for this amazing IMSA race, yet again, this race gets a 9.5 out of 10. Like, there were some parts, I'll be honest with you, that I was kind of bored. Like, during the green flag run, when there weren't battles, that was about it. But Long Beach is just a tad bit higher. Mid-Ohio is right here. Long Beach is, yeah, it's right up there. Long Beach was only a little bit better, but Mid-Ohio was still really good nonetheless, and had a great finish in GTD, and that kept me on my feet. So, 9.5 out of 10 for the IMSA Mid-Ohio Acura Sports Car Challenge. Congrats to Juan Pablo Montoya and Acura Team Penske for getting their first win of the season. That should help them in the points. I believe they are 4 ahead of the number 77 Mazda or the number 31 Action Express Cadillac. GTLM, I believe that now the 912 goes back-to-back wins with Lawrence Van Thor and Earl Bamber. So I'm sure my friend Dade is happy about that. And, yeah, I think they have a 2-point gap over the number 3 Corvette, seeing as how they got second. You know, even though Tommy Miller, it was heartbreaking for me since he had the dominant car and he ended up having a driveline failure. At least the number 3 Corvette got second and a podium spot. So thank you, Garcia, for driving the shit out of that car and helping it out. And GTD points, I believe, Ambassador Sullivan has closed up that points gap to the Lamborghini Brian Sellers, I believe. So that's interesting to see. And LMP2, again, no one cares, man. It's like the only criticism I have about IMSA right now is just why the LMP2 class. Bring it back to a prototype class so that way it's fair for everyone to really get an overall win. Just bring back the prototype class. It was simpler, and no one really asked for a separate prototype class. So, but congrats to Porsche Motorsport on the 912 Porsche of Bamber and Van Thor. And congrats to Ambassador Sullivan Lexus with Jack Hawksworth driving an amazing race at the end there. So, yeah, IMSA race gets a 9.5 out of 10. You guys got to start watching IMSA, man. This shit is good. You're not going to be bored, I swear. Like, you might be bored for like a little bit, but trust me, you won't be bored for long. A lot more people, I think, need to start watching IMSA. And especially today, it kind of frustrated me because there were some people that were like, oh, the Dover race, oh, I'm waiting for this race. It's like, just turn on the IMSA race, man. Then you don't have to, I don't know. But for those of you that did watch the IMSA race, I'm sure you're feeling as good as I am right now because you didn't have to sit through bullshit with NASCAR. So, yeah, NASCAR, have fun with your ratings going down the toilet since you postponed it to a fucking Monday afternoon. They continue to make those mistakes, and they should probably add lights to Dover. So, Mid-Ohio race gets a 9.5 out of 10. Congrats to Acura, Team Penske, Porsche, and Lexus on getting those wins. Drivers, they drove a hell of a race. And I can't wait for June 1st when they go to Detroit. Again, IMSA is going to be taking a lot of off weeks because of the Indy 500. And also, Le Mans is coming up, so I don't think you're going to see GTLM cars in Detroit. But IMSA is going to take this rest of the month off because of the fact of the Indy 500, Bump Day, Carb Day, the Indy Grand Prix. Like, a lot of IndyCar stuff going on. I don't think IMSA wants to get in the way of that. So, sadly, we won't get to see another IMSA race till June. But for me, 9.5 out of 10 race. Congrats to all the winners in their classes. Watch more IMSA. Thank you guys for watching. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.